Another ninth inning no-hit heartbreak, but at least this time, the Dodgers finished the job where it counts the most, the win column.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Dodgers once again flirted with a no-no, and despite being down on the score while not allowing a hit earlier in the game, Mookie Betts did what Mookie does, coming through in the clutch when the team needed him the most to get a win. And it was a big day for the farm system as the Dodgers called up not one, but their two top prospects, Josue, Paula, and Zyhir, two-AA. We'll break it down in today's Locked On Dodgers, which is presented by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. This team needed a win real bad, Travis, and they got it.
Yeah, they did. They made it interesting down the stretch. They made you sweat it out a little bit, but they finally put two in a row together. It was a good feeling.
Absolutely. He's Travis Rogers. I'm Harry Ruiz, two guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger blue for life. You can get more Travis on 710 ESPN LA or the ESPN LA app from 3 to 6 p.m. with the Travis and DeMarco Show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play broadcaster for the USC Football Trojans and the Las Vegas Raiders. But nothing beats jumping on the mic every weekday morning and diving deep into what I love most, talking Dodger baseball with you. And we want you to be a part of our show. Hit us up on the Locked On Dodgers listener line at 279-3-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. Right after the game, you can either leave us a voicemail or a text, and you might be featured in our show. Leading off, as it's been a tradition now for a couple of weeks, it's scoreboard watching time. The Padres opened their 3-game set with the Reds by winning 4-3 in extras, and the Phillies edged out the Mets 1-0. So the standings hold steady. Dodgers still up by 1 game over San Diego in the West, and still 4 games back of Philly for that second seed in the National League. Each team has 18 games left in the regular season. Wow. It's crazy how quick the end of the season is upon us. Now, let's get to the big headline.
It goes to show you, Harry, that just, that if I would have told you the Dodgers are going to go play 2 last place teams, they're going to lose 5 of 6 games and still be in first place, would you have believed me? And yet here we are. They're going to be in the wild card. They're 4 games with 18 to go against Philly. That's asking a lot. I know they play them one more time, so that gives them a little bit of a shot, but some unusual stuff would have to happen. So we're going to see them play in that wild card round for the first time, I think.
And now the only question mark will be at home or away. So The big headline to kick off from last night: the Dodgers went into Monday without an announced starter, as we had mentioned in our show. It wasn't until the lineup dropped that we saw Tyler Glasnow was getting the ball. Remember, this is just 72 hours after he was scratched Friday with back tightness. Honestly, I had no idea what to expect, and then he goes out there and gives his best outing of the year. 7 no-hit innings, just 2 walks. One of them came around to score, and that's where the Dodgers were. They were in the 5th inning, no-hitter, losing 1-0. I'm like, man, this is the most Dodger thing right now, that they are throwing a no-hitter and they are losing in this game. But fortunately, the Dodgers were able to tie it up, and then they took the lead immediately in the bottom of the 7th inning right after Tyler Glasnow left the mound. He was flat out masterful. The only question now is, Travis, and we go back to yesterday's show for all our everydayers, can he stay healthy the rest of the way? Because we know when he's on the mound, he can be really, really, really good.
I have a bit of mixed feelings about what I saw last night, because I think you got all of the good and all of the frustration with Tyler Glasnow all in one, couple hours on a Monday night at Dodger Stadium. Number one, this is why, despite the guy never being available to pitch, you always want him to pitch, because when he pitches, he's as good as anybody. He's untouchable when he's on like that. I was listening to Rick Monday on the radio call last night, and he was reading off some of the numbers that left-handers hit under 200 against him. Right-handers hit under 200 against him. On the road, they hit under 200 against him. At home, they hit under 200. I mean, he's just a dominant pitcher. But he doesn't pitch enough. And quite frankly, as good as he was last night, it was one of these, seriously, like I had a really weird mixed emotion, because I just have no faith that he's going to be there when it comes time to really clamp down, when it comes time to play in that wild card round, when it comes time to play in the DS, the CS, or the World Series. I have no faith that he's going to be able to put together a solid month, 2 months of baseball and be able to go out there every day. I hope he does, because they certainly can use him. He's an unbelievable pitcher. But yeah, it was kind of a mixed bag last night. And then on the offensive side, it was a mixed bag too, because you look at it, Colorado is a terrible team. They're gonna set a franchise record for losses this season, and yet they found a way to score a run without even getting a hit. And here are the Dodgers that get the bases loaded, can't score a run. Then when they do get the bases loaded, they get 1 run in instead of 2 or 3. Just all those little things. When the Colorado Rockies are doing them better than you for a stretch of the game, it's incredibly frustrating. Now, the Dodgers got the big hit from Mookie. I know we're going to talk about that coming up in just a hair, but it was a weird night because it was a really good night, but the Rockies are bad. The Dodgers needed to go deep into the game before you felt like they had a lead that at least you could exhale with. And then Tanner Scott did his thing all over the mound again. It was a really weird night.
Yeah, and you were talking precisely about how the Rockies manufactured their first run in the second inning. Jordan Beck walked. He stole second base. Then Ezekiel Tovar flied out to right field. Jordan Beck advanced to third base. Then Kyle Farmer comes in and he hits a sac fly, and the Rockies are up 1-0. Meanwhile, the Dodgers, they were blanked all the way until the 6th inning. Yep. And it's like, man, the first hit in this game.
And, the ball that they scored on, Freeman hits a chopper that bounces, 30 feet in the air, which isn't going to happen very often. But it was, you'll take it to be sure. But, man, it just doesn't seem like any of the breaks that you get in baseball that tend to even out are going the Dodgers' way. It was a weird night.
And something interesting, too, if you were watching the game, you could see Ben Wartvedt getting into Tyler Glasnow's head or something getting into Tyler Glasnow. He wasn't asked about it in the post-game scrum that was posted on social media. And I was like, that was something I was very interested in to see if it was the way that Wartvedt was calling the game? Was it something bothering Tyler Glasnow in his head about the way that the game was being laid out or the way his pitches were coming out? Because early in the game, in those first 3 innings, he didn't look as in control as he was from the 4th through the 7th, where he was just cruising. That first inning is the first batter he faced. It took him 10 pitches to get out of the way. So, and then after that, he struck out the next 2 and 4 pitches each. So it was like, okay, back into control. But when you were 20 pitches into your first inning, it was like, well, it ain't going to be a long night for Glasnow. And then boom, 7 innings.
Yeah, I think what that was, Harry, if I had to make a guess, it is a veteran pitcher who's been around a long time with a brand new catcher. They probably barely know each other's name. They have no idea what the other guy likes to do. I'm sure Wartvedt was trying to go by the scouting report or whatever it was, but they just weren't on the same page early. And you could see it. I agree with you. You could see the frustration on Glasnow's face. And as the game got deeper, you could tell that they started to get more on the same page as the game went on. Now, Wartvedt got on base a couple of times. He did a good job at the back of the lineup, but that's going to be a work in progress. I know Will Smith is coming back soon, so we're hopeful that he's going to be able to play well. But when you have a guy like Wartvedt who just has not played in the major leagues, and certainly when you're talking about veteran pitchers like Tyler Glasnow, it's going to take a minute to get guys on the same page. So I wasn't surprised that there was a little bit of miscommunication and quite frankly, and again, this is part of the frustration that I have with Glasnow. He wears his frustrations very obviously. Like, he does not conceal them particularly well. When he's frustrated, when he's not feeling something, it's right there on his face. It's not my favorite personality trait that he has. I like a guy that's a little more stoic on the mound. Give me a Yamamoto who you don't know if he's given up 10 home runs or struck out 10 guys in a row. Glasnow's not like that. And with an inexperienced catcher, I wasn't surprised there was that frustration.
Yeah, it's now his 5th game in a row appearing for the Dodgers, and in 2 of his last 3, he was behind the mound for a game that went on a no-hitter into the 9th inning. And after Glasnow, Blake Trinan, he kept the no-hit bait alive with a clean 8. And for a fan base that's been through a lot of weird collapses the last couple of months, this was one of those nights where everyone was holding their breath at Dodger Stadium. That tension peaked in the 9th inning when you saw Tanner Scott come out of the bullpen, and it's like, oh no, here we go again. And the first batter he faced, leadoff double, to break it up. Boos were ringing at Dodger Stadium. But, man, that pitch from Scott was so low, and the batter was still able to pick it up and get a double out of it. Hey, props also to Michael. No, it wasn't Conforto. He was out of the game already. To the left from Alex Call, who even extended. You knew he wasn't going to reach it, but he gave you the image of like, okay, Pajes didn't do it on Saturday night. I'm going to do it right here, at least to show I'm trying. But, it was –
it just goes to show you how in the woods that Tanner Scott is right now. That wasn't a bad pitch. I mean, that ball was, nearly hit him in the feet, and the next thing you know, it's into the left field corner. That's just how like he himself said, Tanner Scott said, he goes, baseball hates me right now. And that was a pretty good example of baseball not loving Tanner Scott. Look, I know I've said this. I know the everydayers have heard me say this. I've said this a lot on my radio show every day from 3 to 6. They're going to need him. I'm not saying that he's necessarily going to be the guy standing on the mound when they win the World Series, but they're going to keep trying, because here's the deal. They don't need him to fix the whole season. They need him to be good for 3 weeks. And that's it. And if you said to me, hey, can Tanner Scott be good for 3 weeks? I think the answer is yes. I think he can, whether he will be or not. But that's why he's out there. They're going to keep putting him in pressure situations. They're going to make the playoffs, whether it's a home wild card, a road wild card, a division winner, whatever it is. But they're going to keep trying to find a way to unlock him. And he got out of there. I mean, they did win the game, but it was a high wire act all over again. That's for sure.
Travis, I was walking my dogs just minutes ago before we started recording, and I thought about something. I was like, hey, let's do this segment this week, later in the week, the trust meter on the bullpen.
Yeah.
How do we rank the options? And spoiler alert, Tanner Scott is very low in my list when it comes to the trust meter in the bullpen, because, man, every time he goes out there, we had flashbacks to Saturday, 1 out away from Yamamoto's no-hitter, and I know it wasn't Tanner Scott, the man who got the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth, but when he went out there, it's like no chance in hell he gets out. And how many ways is there out there in the world to get 1 out in baseball? You can get a strikeout, a pop out, a line out. You can get a ground out. You can get a foul ball. Millions of ways to get an out. And I was like, no, he's not going to get it. And when this thing started that way, the game was already 3-1, 2-run difference. You had the runner at second. I was like, 1 home run and it's over. And
it got interesting again. I'm all for doing the trust meter, but if we're going to do the trust meter, here's my request, Harry, that we're also going to have to do the need meter, because those things aren't going to line up exactly right. Like the trust meter is a relatively short list right now, but the need meter is still pretty long, and Tanner Scott is high on the need meter.
I'm cool if we need him with the Dodgers winning 6-0 and we need somebody to throw 3 outs to get 3 outs. I'm good with throwing him out there in that kind of situation, but high leverage, it's tough. But coming back to this game, man, we know Yamamoto, he was out there, no hitter, 8 2/3. Dodgers choked it away, lost the 5th game in a row. This time the story, fortunately, ended differently. The staff was locked in on the 8th with Blake Trinan, who I think really needed that. He needed those 3 outs, because there's players that you saw Tanner Scott with what he said. The baseball gods don't like me. Baseball doesn't like me right now. Blake Trinan, if he had another bad outing, he could have been a player that had the same frame of thought right there, and that wasn't the case. He went and got 3 outs. I feel the Dodgers really, really, really need Blake Trinan to be a leader with the way he's a veteran in that bullpen, to even go up to Tanner Scott and be like, hey, man, chill, relax. Yeah. It's baseball. Yeah. It happens.
I'm with you. He is maybe the only guy down there right now that I'm like, I'll roll with him. I will roll with. I know that he hasn't been as good as he was last year. I understand that, but for all the reasons that you just said, he's a veteran. He's calm. He's experienced. He's competitive. He understands that sometimes it doesn't go your way, but doesn't mean that you're not pitching well. Like Trinan is the one guy that when he comes out of there, I'm like, okay, we got a pretty good chance for him to close the show here. I'm high on Blake Trinan for sure.
And we'll give Tanner Scott credit where credit's due. After the leadoff double, he retired the next 3 guys in a row.
So the last one was hit pretty hard, though. Just saying.
I know. Thank God Max Muncy was there to get that out. Well, no disaster, no comeback, just a sigh of relief and a W in the books for the Dodgers. The Dodgers, though, they only managed 4 hits all night, but one of them came up from Mookie Betts, and it might have saved the game for the boys in blue. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, we'll talk about why his clutch factor still sets him apart.
There is nothing like catching a baseball game live. We're talking about the energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting the tickets. Yeah, well, that's the tough part, right? Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It can take nearly all the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans, because Game Time, it's fast, it's easy, it's backed by the Game Time guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets. They're going to be delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I can't tell you how much that drives me crazy in some other places where you say, okay, I like that price. And then by the time you get to checkout, it's a totally different number. That's not going to happen at Game Time. And of course, I love the zone deals too. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the code is LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rogers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. When you talk about the Dodgers doing things the right way, you've got to talk about Mookie Betts. The guy is the definition of a superstar, and thankfully, he looks like he's finally out of that little funk that he was in. Last night, with the game hanging in the balance, Mookie did what he's been doing his whole career. Game through in the clutch. A 2 RBI single that basically saved the Dodgers from wasting another brilliant pitching performance. When Mookie is locked in, Travis, the Dodgers' chances of winning go way up.
All right, I want to put Mookie Betts and Tanner Scott together for a second. I want to go back about, 4 or 6 weeks or so ago when Mookie basically threw his hands up and said, man, I give up. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a, hey, look, this season is a bust for me personally. This season is a bust. The back of my baseball card, my baseball reference page is not going to look like a Mookie Betts season. And it was a real give up in the sense of, man, I just got to let it go and see whatever happens next is going to happen next. Since that moment, Mookie Betts has been Mookie Betts again. And you can't trick yourself. You actually have to let go of the rope in that situation. You can't just say, okay, I don't care anymore. Now let all the good stuff come in. You actually have to kind of say, you know what? Blanket, man. Let's just see what happens next. This isn't going to be my year. Tanner Scott needs to get there. Tanner Scott, I know he's talking about how the baseball gods hate him, but that's not giving up. That is there is an outside force that is conspiring to prevent me from having a good year. You got to lean into it and kind of take ownership of it, because you're right, Harry. Mookie Betts is walking around with swag again. Mookie Betts is walking around like, I don't know, Mookie Betts. Like when he comes up the bat now, it's like, oh, snap, he's going to do something here. Like you could feel it. When Ohtani walked in the later innings last night and he came up, this wasn't oh, man, I hope I don't hit make another out. I hope I'm not having another terrible year. It's, I'm going to make something happen for my team. And he did. And you can just feel his presence. You can feel his energy, his positivity. And he's been Mookie Betts for about a month now. And whatever it was that flipped in his head to go from, hey, I'm going to try to save this season and have it look great, to, man, I'm just going to see what happens from here. That needs to happen for Tanner Scott. Now, I know Scott and Betts are on different planes. That Betts is going to the Hall of Fame, and he's one of the great players of his generation. And Tanner Scott's not that. He's a good player, but he's not that. But that switch in his head that we saw with Mookie last night needs to go off in Tanner Scott's head too.
And even in the same game, you saw two scenarios where you, as a former guy that played baseball, Travis, you got to flip the switch and be like, hey, what happened earlier in the game, you got to leave it in the past. Go to the third inning. Ha-Seong Kim walks. Then Andy Pages productive ground out to first base, and you had the South Korean Kim at third base with one out, and it's like, okay, Rortvedt walks. Shohei Ohtani, he strikes out swinging, and Mookie Betts had an opportunity right there with a single to tie the game. He didn't do it, but that he didn't let it get into his brain. He went out there in the 7th, and he got the job done when he needed it. He got the line moving. He got the single. The Dodgers took the lead. And that's right now the type of player that you look back into when the Dodgers did that trade in 2020. This is the guy that they wanted to get. This was the guy that they built the team around. Yes, Shohei Ohtani, he's been here for just a little bit over a year. He's going to be here for the next 9 years. Freddie Freeman, even though his Dodgers playing career might be over very soon with what's left in his contract, Mookie Betts is still going to be on the team. They built this team around Mookie Betts, and they want him to be that core centerpiece. And I think they were thinking about him as a right fielder for most of that time, but heck, now he's your shortstop, and you know that you need him to be an ace defensively and an ace with the bat. And the best chance for the Dodgers to be able to go back to back is having Mookie Betts on fire. And so far, you look since the first week of August. That's when he started catching fire again. And we got 1 week into September. Let's see what happens the rest of the month.
Yeah, I'll use this as a litmus test for all of our everydayers, all the Dodger fans that are listening to us right now. When Mookie Betts comes up to bat, you feel good about it or not? And I think the answer is yes, I feel good about it. And
2 months ago, we didn't.
No, that's exactly right. That, you go back to May, June, July, and it was like, oh my gosh, this guy can't buy a hit. Who is this guy? This isn't Mookie Betts. And right now, other than Ohtani, I think if you said, hey, look, game on the line, you're going to have an at-bat. Who do you want? Betts would not have been the second choice behind Ohtani. And maybe he's still the third choice behind Freddie just because Freddie's Freddie. But he's back near the top of that list, and that's really good news for the Dodgers. And you can see it on his face. You can see it on the way that he's playing the game. He feels good about what he's contributing to this team. And look, you and I were talking a little before we started to record, and I know that this season has kind of been just, for lack of a better description, just bizarre the way that they've gone about it. And they've played really bad baseball for long stretches. I think they're 8 games under 500 since the 4th of July. It's a weird season. Harry, I really think they're going to win the World Series. I really do, just because this is a team that has not gotten hot. This is a team that has not caught a lot of breaks, and baseball evens out. You usually get the same amount of good and bad, and they're way in the bad column, which means hopefully a lot of good's coming. And Mookie Betts looks good. I know I'm trying to be a little optimistic here. I think Scott still has some ability in that left arm of his. And the other thing is, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more as we get closer to it. Tell me a team that they're going to play in a playoff series that the top of the first inning, before a pitch has been thrown, it's 0-0. Who are the Dodgers not favored to beat? And the answer is nobody. Nobody. They're going to be favored to beat everybody they play. Now, they could lose 2 in a row in the wild card and see you later, and we're like, what the heck just happened? But I really believe they're going to win the World Series. I do.
Because I work with an NFL team, I can't gamble, so I don't have any betting apps on my phone. But I'm pretty sure if you go to FanDuel right now, the Dodgers are still the odds-on favorite to win the World Series. Yeah. So that shows you. And I always tell people I live in Vegas, so you go and see the casinos, and they get built one every year, and the next one is always better than the previous one. And there's a reason why they keep building those casinos, because they know how to win money against people that are gambling. So they know the odds, and they don't want the Dodgers to be like, okay, let's give them better odds. Let's put it plus 700, plus 800, because they know they could be toast if that ends up happening. But it's something interesting. Go back to last night's game. The Dodgers, they were getting no hit into midway through the game. Who gets the first hit for the boys in blue? Michael Conforto. He broke the ice. And then you had the 3 MVPs. Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. They got hits, but that was it. I mean, it's great that Mookie got a hit for the 9th time in the last 10 games, but this offense, these hitters, they need to get their act straight, because it's not going to work that way in the postseason. Especially, I know that the Rockies, they're a team where their pitchers at home are very different when they're on the road. But man, you can't make They better rock German Marquez tonight, because I need that for the boys in blue as a confidence booster, and be like, hey, we can't let ordinary pitchers look extraordinary against us.
Muncy will help too, and he didn't get a hit last night, but I like the way he swung the bat. I think that I think it's coming. I really do. Maybe I'm looking at it through Dodger blue colored glasses, but I really do think it's coming. I think they have the best team. I think they have the best players. They just have to play the best now.
Absolutely. You mentioned Max Muncy, already back from the big league to the big league club yesterday. Alex Vesia, he's set to be activated today, and Tommy Edman is expected to be back tomorrow. So slowly but surely, the reinforcements are coming. Plus, it's not just about the present, about what's going down right now in 2025. The Dodgers farm system, it's stacked. Next on Locked On Dodgers, we'll break down the call-ups of Josue, Paula, and Zyhir Hope, and where the organization stands in the latest prospect rankings. Heads up, the call-up is to AA, not to the big leagues. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is there for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. It helps you maximize investments, increase your savings rate, easily review finances with your partner and or financial advisor, keeping a clean view of your financial health week to week and long term. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. It's free. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers Postcast Show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you can become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. Now, let's shift to something really exciting for Dodgers fans. The next wave of talent in the farm system, two of its brightest stars, Josue Paula and Zyhir Hope, are both moving up to Double-A Tulsa. Travis, a lot of folks might not get very excited about it, but let's not forget, the guy that is having all the fans excited in the bullpen, Edgardo Henriquez, he went up from Double-A to big leagues, and he ain't moving no more. I know it's different when it comes to field players, but these two guys, they had a lot of hype before the trade deadline. A lot of teams wanted them involved in trades, and the Dodgers didn't pull the trigger to let them go, so that means they trust them. So just seeing them make this move, even though it's towards the end of the season, it's a positive for the Dodgers organization.
Yeah, I think so too, for a couple of different reasons. Number one, prospects serve two different purposes. They serve the purpose of kind of buttressing your own organization and, you know, kind of backfilling some talent issues along the way. And maybe you stumble into a star here and there. That's the ideal situation. But the other thing is what you mentioned, that if those guys move up to Double-A and next year they're in Triple-A or whatever, and they continue to perform at a high level in the minor leagues, other teams will covet those guys because they're inexpensive, because you don't have to pay them quite yet, and you can flip them for, you know, more established major league players. It's been a minute since the Dodgers have kind of had that minor league system cranked up in the sense of turning out a bunch of really good major leaguers. That they were going through a cycle where it was Walker Buehler and Corey Seager and Cody Bellinger and Will Smith, and not just guys that were making the major leagues, but were stars in the major leagues, that were all-stars, that were guys that you know, MVPs and Bellinger and World Series MVPs and Seager, and free agents that are signing $300 million contracts like Seager. Like, these guys were legit major leaguers. They haven't done that in a while. You look around, it's a lot of guys from other places. It's Freddie Freeman from Atlanta. It's Shohei Ohtani from the Angels. It's Mookie Betts from the Red Sox. You know, it's just not the way you look at the mound. Basically, other than Kershaw, they all came from somewhere else. It's a different way of going about it. So being able to backfill out of the minor leagues, whether they turn into stars or not, is incredibly important. I hope those guys do well. One, if they come to LA and thrive, excellent. Or if you can flip them for other guys, also excellent.
Yeah, Paula, he's been on the radar for a while right now.
Yes.
He's ranked as the #1 prospect for the Dodgers. He's got all the tools that you want in a modern outfielder: size, bat speed, plate discipline. He's the kind of guy, if things go right, could anchor the middle of a lineup for the next decade if he is able to become the star that the prospect watchers hope so.
Or you flip him for Paul Skeens.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. If a Paul Skeens becomes available, you got the weapons to do so. And then you've got Zyhir Hope. The athleticism just jumps off the page with him. He's still raw, but the upside is undeniable. And seeing both of these guys take this step is a big deal because it shows that the Dodgers are doing what they always do: reload, not rebuild. And it's just another reminder that this farm system keeps pumping out talent at an elite level. And like you said, Travis, it keeps pumping out talent, sometimes for you, sometimes for other teams, but always for the benefit of the organization.
Yeah, and I'm kind of making a joke about Skeens, and I'm kind of not. Sooner than later, they're going to have to move him. They're not going to just let him walk out the door. I know it's a few years down the road, but if you go in there and try to blow their socks off with some sort of package, including a couple of highly ranked prospects, I certainly wouldn't hate that. But if they can find the next Corey Seager or Will Smith or Cody Bellinger, awesome. Let's go do that. But if it's just a way to use assets to get I don't care if it's the NBA. I don't care if it's Major League Baseball or the NFL or a guy that's proven he is a pro. I will take that over a guy who might be a good pro 99 times out of 100. So if they got to flip them for other guys, I'm good with that too.
And speaking of the farm system, ESPN released its updated 2025 organizational rankings, and the Dodgers come in at #2, dropping one spot behind the Mets. And that makes sense because this is another part where, as well, look at this. LA had a ton of guys that graduated this year: Dalton Rushing, Justin Robleski, Ben Kasparius, Jack Dreyer, and of course, Alex Freeland. He's already making his big league debut, or made his big league debut a couple of weeks back. But that shows you the top of the system is loaded with players down from A-ball all the way to AAA. And this organization, that's the way that it builds itself. And it doesn't just focus on, let me trade for all the stars and that's how we're going to play, having $300 million players in every position. No, if you're a Dodger fan, have been following this team since, let's say, when Guggenheim purchased the team back in 2014, you know that there's always in that rotation, in that lineup, players that were born and bred in Dodger blue, players who arrived to the organization either through the draft, through a trade, but that as prospects went up through the system, and as well, players who were thrown to the side by their teams. Look like a Max Muncy, look at a Chris Taylor that end up becoming a key piece for the organization and not just being $365 million Mookie Betts, $700 million Shohei Ohtani, big time payday for Freddie Freeman. No, this team knows how to build.
They do. And I'll throw one more thing in there, Harry, too, is they're picking at the back of the draft every year, too. It's not like the teams that should be at the top of these rankings are the Colorado Rockies, the Anaheim Angels, the Oakland A's, the Sacramento A's, whatever we're calling them. Like those teams that are near the bottom every single year, those are the teams that should have them. And the A's are doing a lot better. They've got some younger players, but you look around at Colorado and you look around at some of these other teams that are picking high every year, that the Dodgers, who are picking at the back that the Astros, who pick at the back every single year, are near the top. I mean, that just goes to speak to their scouting and their development, that even they're picking guys in the 40s that other teams can't get in the single digits, and they're still producing better prospects. Speaks incredibly highly of their development.
Rockies, how the hell are you losing 100 plus games for a third year in a row and you can't get prospects like that? Well, I feel that building a stadium where they built it is part of the problem.
Right.
Well, Right? All right. So that'll do it for today's show from Travis and I. Thanks so much for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. For your second listen, find the all-new Locked On MLB Game Nights. Every game, every night, until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow as Emmett Sheehan takes the mound as the Dodgers try to clinch the series win against Colorado tonight. I think that would take a lot of pressure off of this team, and let's keep our fingers crossed that the Reds help us out with the Padres and that the Mets help us out with the Phillies. Those two teams need a win to get Reds sneak themselves into a wild card spot and the Mets to keep themselves in a wild card spot.
Let's get healthy. Let's get you're gonna laugh at what I'm about to say, or you're gonna cringe, one or the other. I want Tanner Scott back out there again. We got to figure this out. We got to find a way to get him in a groove, and against the Rockies is a good way to do it.
Hopefully we got a 10-run lead by then. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it Dodger Blue.